Alrighty folks, want to welcome you back to another video from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. So, this is one I have not really talked about, but I needed to cover some of this. I've gone through a lot of videos about cases, add-on cards, additional hardware that you can add to your computer. I have not seen too much of this lately, even with SATA drives, M.2 drives, a lot of things. A lot of the tech has kind of moved on really quick. Last video that I'm kind of shocked that is a phrase that it's kind of hard to say that has kind of come true is now you do not physically need a SATA drive. Kind of a weird concept to think about. I remember old IED drives. Got a video of taking one apart. The different pins, different connector. Going to SATA. With all the speeds. SATA solid state drives. Those drives are no longer needed anymore. Kind of a weird subject. But again, you might want them. Maybe if you're doing a raid situation or doing something you want to do where you need a bunch of them. And again, this is home use. Again, when you get into servers, of course, you're going to need drives because you're going to need a bunch of storage. But I'd imagine that's probably not too far off that even for servers that with, 4 terabyte, 8 terabyte, whatever they're advertising now for M.2 and SATA drives, that it ain't going to be very long before those old obsolete drives are absolutely obsolete. I'm sure they're going to figure out how to get that much storage on that low card. I mean, it's quite amazing when you look into that and you do your research on how small those drives actually can be compared to the full stick. There's 3 to 4 different sizes of M.2. I've got videos on the slots and all of that stuff. Go back, do your research on that. Go back, watch those videos. All the information's there. It's quite amazing. Goes back to now where in the old days and even today, sometimes you have driver conflicts. Most of that has kind of been resolved. Where I find you have driver conflicts mostly is when you have a proprietary company or a company that brings in a piece of specific hardware software to do a specific job, and that might have a hardware conflict with another driver, or where it says to go put your stuff in memory and all of those type of things. This is what leads me back to making sure you have matching memory, making sure you have everything the same. All these videos I've done lead into all these little issues. Because now, if you have mixed match memory and other things, you can end up with some severe driver conflicts and some severe issues. Now, there's some of these boards that I've been seeing that you can load, I believe it's like 6 or 8 M.2 drives on. The high-end boards, I know there at least 2, 4 is really a standard, but there are some out there that I saw that they're advertising that, or they're going to possibly release with all these on there. You have add-on cards where you can add 2 M.2s, 8 M.2s that are supposedly all controlled by a controller card that goes into that board in that expansion slot. Video cards. have gotten to performance and such bandwidths and all these other things that you can actually have a driver conflict with a sound card and a video card issues. You can have driver conflicts with anything, a monitor and anything else in your computer, where you have to reload the driver. Sometimes what happens is, if it's an unknown issue, it's an ongoing known issue with a certain company and a certain driver, one of the companies or both of the companies update their drivers so they stop having that conflict. But if you're in a smaller business and you have, let's say, a credit card terminal, and you're doing all your POS out of that computer, and you're doing like an inventory system, and you have a scanner, and you have other things that attach, you could end up with driver conflicts. Maybe it has a card that goes in there that you plug a certain proprietary cord to that hooks to a scanner that might, simply charge it or transfer data or a docking station or anything. You could end up with driver conflicts. And I'm sure everybody pretty much knows to go to your computer management, go to your device manager. I know I've talked about it. I'm sure I have videos on it to troubleshoot. Is it green? Is it yellow? Is it red? Is there no driver available? Windows has gotten really good at providing those drivers for you. But even in the field I'm in, there are some things that I still physically have to load a driver in. Last video I mentioned in the OS, wireless card on Windows Server. The driver is not compatible. At least with the cards that I've had that plug into the USB, they're not compatible. Because Server is not really designed to connect to wireless. I'm sure I can use an access point, run it through a network cable into one of the other NICs and get on if I needed to, but that's kind of a lot of configuration and a lot of work. Not to mention, you don't want to break what your server's doing by changing your network communications. So, these are some of those little issues that I've seen for 30 years. And what really brought this back up is I had an issue. And I went in there and looked at it and I went, hey, that's really weird. I got to reload the driver. It had a driver conflict or a driver fail for some reason. Don't know why. There are 3 computers exactly the exact same software. 2 out of the 3, the drivers failed. Maybe it was a Windows update, a Windows patch, anything that came in there, something happened that corrupted that driver, kicked it out. Not too sure. Really simple. Uninstall the driver software, reinstall the driver software, go through the little configs. It's fine. But what if you go through that and it's not fine the next time? So I wanted to go through and summarize some of that because I know I mentioned, add on your add-on card, add on this, add on that. And it kind of was like, you know what? I don't really hear anybody talking about this anymore because I believe Windows has taken care of most of that. So you're going to be in a low percentile of the people that are going to have to load their own driver because Windows doesn't recognize it. That's probably because it's a proprietary hardware, software, something of that sort where it's going to cause you to do that. So I wanted to go through this video because that is a black hole. That is a rabbit hole that you can go down. Because then you got to figure out what the last things you installed in that computer, what hardware and software you installed that might be giving you that driver conflict. And it could be just like that situation where you have to uninstall and reinstall it and it gets back up. But if it does not come back up, you're going to have to know. And this is why it's kind of handy to know, when I've talked about all these times before, as being a business owner, to know what your IT person is actually doing. If you call them to do something, to know what they are actually doing. Because if you're in a bigger business, bigger IT, and you got Chuck that came out, and then Charles comes out the next time to try to troubleshoot your driver conflict, he might not know what Chuck did. He might not know what Todd did the time before that. They might not be able to address those issues in a timely manner. It might take them 3 weeks to figure out, oh, you know what? I installed this video driver with the new video card and it wasn't the right one, so I installed this driver to get the video card working. And it could be either the driver that he installed originally that has a problem, or it could be the new driver that he installed that has the problem. But he might have left the old driver that doesn't work in there that caused the conflict. So there's a lot of variables, and that's going to be something I cannot cover all in this video. But it's something I wanted to cover and make sure everybody's aware of. Because your NIC card might not work, your sound card might not work. I had that problem with this new computer. And it drove me nuts. And I finally got it to work. And it wasn't anything that would affect me. I believe I've covered this in some of the video. But the audio out from here, for me to hear it, like if I'm trying to replay my captured videos, the audio was not working. The driver for the audio card went crazy, went kaput. I'm not exactly too sure what happened. But with the Windows updates that came along and updating the software, all of a sudden it started to work. So it was a software driver conflict. Not too sure if they were trying to write to the same memory slots, same memory banks, whatever it was, but now it works fine. But it wasn't that big of a deal because I just took that video off of that computer, went in to my personal one, watched it, reviewed it before I did the postings, and that's where I did all my postings anyways, was on that one. Because the internet connection's faster than way out here. I'm too far away from the main unit. So that's what I do. It's not that big of a deal. But now it's working. So even today with the new computers and the new stuff, and that is not any, well, I guess it has its own drivers in there from that company, that maybe one of those drivers conflicted and sat on top of something. But it's now working. So you could still run into these problems today. So it brought up, I need to do a revaluation on this and do a video. Because again, nobody's talking about it. And if you're a home user and you need your audio because you don't have another computer like I do, and I went through the unboxing and an explanation of this computer, what it's used for. I have my personal one over there that I do all my other stuff on. So, why another home user might only have one and actually need that audio to actually work? where to look, where to troubleshoot, how to get there. Again, computer manager, device manager will show you all your devices in there. It'll show you if you're having any troubled devices. It'll show you if you have any failed devices. It will not show you if a device is not recognized, but if you go to look for a sound card and you can't find sound card settings and find a device under sound card, that means it's not recognized. You're going to have to figure out why. Could be a motherboard, could be driver issues, could be OS issues, could be a lot of things. So, wanted to go through and do this video to kind of explain. I know a lot of times in the old days, we kind of got lazy, is the best way I would say it. Motherboard sound card wasn't working. You went and got an add-on card, loaded the driver, and you went on. You did not really troubleshoot it and diagnose it that far. There was a lot of us that took the short, easy ways. Because you could go out and get a sound card for 40 or 50 bucks that was good, or even better than what was on the board. So it was an actual upgrade to what you needed. I remember had Creative Labs, Sound Blaster, 5.1, subwoofer. Those speakers were so loud. Louder than the home audio system, radio that we had. So there's a lot of technology out there. A lot of things you can do on those that you can hook up. But you might end up into driver conflicts and other things. So I hope this helps someone out, because in the old days, this used to be a bigger problem, because everybody wrote their own drivers. And when you went out and you bought hardware or you bought something, it came with the driver disc. Not always were those drivers really that good. Sometimes you'd load them in there, they wouldn't work at all. Have to go onto the website, download a driver, because the driver that they originally released was garbage that they figured out. Had to patch it, update it, and give you a new driver. Especially if you guys do video cards, you know. They talk about, go to NVIDIA site, look for the newest driver. Even add-on cards, video cards, certain other things have like a BIOS where you have to flash them with software. It could be something as simple as that would resolve a conflict or resolve a problem. So I wanted to go through and sum all this up in this video, because I don't hear anybody talk about it unless you're dealing with video cards. They'll tell you, oh, go on there and get the latest driver or the latest flash for the video card. But what if you put that video card in, but it takes out your sound card? Your sound card stops working. You might have to follow those same procedures for your video card to actually fix your sound card, because then if your video card is not using the same driver that's conflicting with the sound card will work. Or you go on your sound card manufacturer and see if they have an updated driver. Or even Windows updates usually will tell you if there's an update. And again, watch my video on finding the hidden optionals in Windows 11. It's not like Windows 10 where it used to be down below. Oh, you want to install these optional updates. Now it's in a different location. That might resolve some of these issues because people aren't aware of. They hid these updates. And a lot of times there are driver updates in there. BIOS updates in there. Security Preview Edition updates in there. Any of these things might help you out. on this conflict. So let me wrap this one up. Thank everybody watching. Another video from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. Make sure you hit the subscribe, the bell. Make sure you forward those links. Make sure you post. Hey, check out these videos because it might be helpful. Because the worst thing I want to do is have you watch it and don't let your friends know about it. And then your friend gets stuck with this issue because you didn't tell him. This guy will tell you how to get around this and fix it. And again, make sure you watch my end of the year video on my test video, because I keep finding that more and more and more. And I'm sure at home you are having this issue. I know probably 25% to 50% of people watch this video will probably have this issue at home. It's getting that big of an issue. Alrighty, make sure you watch all my videos. Thank you.